Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Hierarchy of Reads. My name is Tiffany and today I am here in front of my laundry baskets because I wanted to start a reading vlog with you all. I've been wanting to start, as is always true, for a really long time. And I noticed that I always set these kind of unnecessary conditions that have to be met before I can film. And I recently saw a couple people create videos on YouTube and they're just like very informal and casual. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't really need all these conditions to be met. I don't need to not look a mess. I don't need to have good lighting necessarily. I don't need to have like a set up. Certainly if my goal was strictly numbers, maybe that would be priority, but I am mostly just wanting to return back to share and to be shared with from people in the reading community. And so those who are going to engage with the substance are, I feel like, less likely to care about some of those things, at least for now. So either way, I don't know. I'm just coming back and I'm doing it. It's morning playtime. I'm here with baby. She's currently climbing around as she does. She's very, very sweet and cute and wonderful. And that's really where I've been the past 9+ months, is getting adjusted to motherhood, getting adjusted to living through the current times that we're living in as a new mother, which has been intense, the combination of it all. So it's been really hard to just mentally have the time to come to YouTube and talk about books. I have been reading, but it's been really hard to have the energy to come here and talk about it, especially in a productive way. You're gonna hear baby in the background. I won't show her face online. I don't want to do that. I really want to respect her privacy, but you'll hear her. Occasionally I might share little clips here and there, but without her face. But I really want to keep her privacy, but you'll hear her in the background. If that's not for you, if that bothers you, that's okay. But my videos going forward, at least my vlogs, probably won't be for you. And also if kind of just chatty, casual book discussions about what I'm reading and books that I'm reading for her, or things that are related to her in my life, aren't for you, that's also okay. But again, then these vlogs might not be for you. To start off with though, I want to share a couple of books that I have for baby that she's really been enjoying in different ways. And so I thought I would share those with you. And then later on in the vlog, after this clip, I'll share, what I'm reading and kind of what I'm thinking about it. So the first book that I want to share, there's actually two, but she has one in her hand right now and I don't want to take it from her, are these Indestructible books. So this one's Baby Let's Eat, and it's really cute. It's just got like different colors of foods. And then, we go through and read them together, and she kind of outlines the fruits and vegetables and foods with her fingers. She's learning her fine motor movements, so she really likes to trace things with her fingers. But these are great because they are indestructible. She tears these, or tries to. She whips them around like this. She likes to hear them flap. Even just doing that caught her attention. Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? She puts them in her mouth and tries to eat them and chew them, and they're still standing. And that, I learned, as you'll see why in a few moments, is really important. So I really recommend these books. They have tons of different ones, but they are indestructible and they're supposed to be non-toxic, which is comforting, because the second book that she really enjoyed is this book. It's a touch and feel animal book, and it's got like different textures, that she can feel throughout. And she tends to like the fuzzier textures as opposed to the flatter textures. So she has really enjoyed this book as she has kind of grown throughout the last couple of months. But the other thing she really enjoys about this is the culinary component. She loves the way that it tastes, as you can see. I let her alone with the book for literally 30 seconds and caught her eating it. And you can't really tell necessarily, but she even ate the styrofoam and sent me into a panic attack and having to research what happens if babies eat styrofoam? Is it going to create a blockage? All this lovely things. And she won't eat this book without trying to eat it. She won't read. I think that might have been a word choice. She won't read this book without trying to eat it. And so that's why I got those Indestructibles, because I can't leave her alone with this, and she gets really angry when I take this away from her. So I gave her those Indestructible ones for now. And then finally, the last book that she has really been seeming to enjoy is this Lovevery book. It's My First Signs, and it has kind of basic baby sign language. And I enjoyed this book because I am intentionally trying to teach her sign language. There's a lot of research that shows that if you teach babies sign language prior to their verbal speech development, it helps them have a better understanding of speech, and it helps their speech development, but also it helps me communicate with her until she can speak. And so that's been really, really fun and cool to be in that process with her. I already see her starting to do the sign language sign for more, which I can't do because I need 2 hands. But she's almost there, and it's just been so cool to kind of see her go from like a little like potato baby to like learning sign language and interacting and engaging with me. But she really likes that book too, because she knows that when we pull it out, that means that we're going to have reading time, and she loves reading time, more so because she likes books as objects and she likes to taste them, but also because she likes the process of reading for about like a minute. And then also because that means that we do signs together, and she seems to like that. So those are the books that she has been enjoying. Lovevery, by the way, is it's a company that creates like these play kits. They're bi-monthly play kits, and they're Montessori designed, and they're developmentally appropriate toys. Not sponsored, but just saying that I really, really like them. They give me a good source of age appropriate, developmentally appropriate toys that are good quality, and I don't have to worry about kind of researching like, wait, what's the most developmentally appropriate toy? When I did that to kind of double check their toys, they were always aligned. So that's really cool. Plus they're non-toxic. So that's what the Lovevery book is. But yeah, I'm going to be coming back a little bit later and sharing my thoughts about the books that I'm reading, and I look forward to talking with you.
Hello everybody, and welcome back. I am here to give you a little bit of an update on what it is that I'm reading, what I think about what I'm reading. You get the commentary from the baby, and also to share a life update with you all, which is that I am engaged. I will share a story time either in this vlog or another one or at some point about how he proposed. Obviously I said yes, and so that's really, really exciting. I'm excited about that. Thankfully, when he proposed, I had my nails done. I had press-ons, but I've since then taken them off because I don't really feel comfortable having press-ons around a baby. So yeah, and I really kind of want to share more of other kinds of life updates on my vlogs as well. I kind of am thinking about starting another channel in the future about just kind of like different life experiences, like trying to lose weight / get healthy after having a baby, as well as, I don't know, just mom stuff or other lifestyle things, not showing the baby necessarily, but just kind of talking about my experiences and that sort of thing. But until I actually, or if I ever start up that channel, I'm just going to kind of include them in my vlogs. But I do want to share book progress with you all. So I have been reading Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, and I'm about a third of the way through. I'm on page 127, and I'm kind of scared to share my opinion because I don't think my opinion is a popular one, but that is that I don't find it to be as deep or profound so far, at least, as many people have made this book out to be. And maybe that's because part of the biggest profound points is that it is pretty predictable in terms of like the time. The book starts off in 2025, I think, and it's 2024, and there's climate crisis and all kinds of political corruption, and cost of living is not affordable, and there's huge class disparities. Resources are really hard to come by and really expensive, and then there's a lot of violence as a result. And that maybe isn't necessarily happening right now, but I mean, we're gearing up towards that. There's a lot of environmental scientists who predict pretty significant climate disaster here soon. Yeah, that's I guess maybe part of why maybe people find it very profound. But other than that, I mean, it's not a bad book. I enjoyed the book. It's just people made it out to be this, you know, amazingly deep, insightful, profound piece of literature, and I'm finding it just to be very like, okay. But also, I'm only a third of the way through. After I'm done with Parable of the Sower, I'm thinking about reading another fiction. I think I kind of like the balance of having one fiction and one nonfiction going at the same time. Oftentimes I pick up way too many and I never finish any of them, and then I just get kind of like stuck because I feel like I have to finish the 13 that I have half started before I pick up anything else, but then I don't remember where I am in those 13 books. It's just a whole thing. So I'm trying to just focus on 1 or 2 books at a time, but I do like having a fiction and nonfiction open. So yeah, I'll update you as I go along.
Hello all, it is me. I look like hell, I sound like hell, I feel like hell. I recently got really sick, and then I tested positive for COVID, and then I got my partner and my baby sick, so that's been fun. But while everybody's sleeping, I actually have been reading more of Parable of the Sower, so I wanted to share that with you all because I'm noticing my thoughts on something. Admittedly, I haven't heard a lot of people talk in depth about Parable of the Sower. I have heard them talk about it. That's what prompted me to pick it up in the first place. They talked about the correlation between like the book and what's kind of happening in our world now. And one thing that, I could be way off about this, but it's interesting because the main character, Lauren, is really kind of talked about as like the super compassionate person, and she has like this gift or like this curse, depending on who you're talking to or what part of the book they're describing it, of like feeling things that happen to other people, feeling other people's pain, as though that makes her like this really compassionate person, and that is sometimes seen as a bad thing, or oftentimes seen as a bad thing because it makes her like weak or sensitive to other people's pain. I'm on page 133, so I'm not super far into the book. However, I've been noticing that I really take issue with that being considered compassion, right? Like only being able to feel people's pain when it's like a physical pain, and then also relating to that, being able to feel their pain as some kind of sensitivity or weakness is also, to me, not really in line with compassion. And also it made me kind of go on all these thought tangents about like survival and group survival, and how compassion is actually a really vital component for group survival. So all this has been kind of loosely in the back of my mind, like this isn't really compassion. And then there's something on page 132, I don't think this is a spoiler, so that was written that really made me solidify this belief, like this is not compassion. And that's, they're walking through, they're looking for somebody. I'm not going to say who they're looking for because that is a spoiler. They're looking for somebody, and they start hearing a man screaming like he's being tortured. And, she says, the screaming stopped, then began again as a kind of horrible bubbling noise. I had let myself fall back to the end of the line of us by then. I wasn't in trouble. Sound doesn't trigger my sharing. I have to see another person in pain before I do any sharing. And this was one I'd do anything to avoid seeing. Marcus dropped back beside me and whispered, "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I just don't want to know anything about what's happening to that man." And that made me really like solidify my thoughts on like this gift or curse or whatever you want to, this trait that Lauren has really isn't compassion. It might be normal human kind of responsivity to seeing other people's pain. It might be a response mechanism or a survival mechanism with regard to like, hey, when I see other people in physical pain, that might be a survival instinct to back away, like, hey, I need to get away from this. But that's definitely not compassion. Compassion is when we, even when it hurts, like we want to turn towards other people's feelings because we also recognize that it is as essential and as important as our own, and that we fare better when we share that collectively. And for some reason, this is a really important distinction to me. Perhaps it's because the way that our world is going, which I could go on a whole tangent about that, right? But like, it's this idea that compassion really isn't this like knowing that there's suffering in others and wanting to turn away from it to spare ourselves. It is not only not wanting to do that, but like not being able to do that because it is oppositional to the very function of connection with other human beings and connection with ourselves. And that's all I'm going to say for now. It's just something that's kind of like floating around in my head. Maybe it's completely irrelevant to the rest of the book. I'll let you all know, but that's kind of where I'm thinking now. But it's really sticking out to me. It's really poking at me. This is not really compassion.
Welcome back. This is going to be the last update for this particular vlog. You're going to hear baby in the background. She is in a delightful mood. She's playing, she's climbing, she's learning to clap. Oh my gosh, she just turned 9 months, and I think like 2 days after her 9-month birthday, she started clapping, and we've been trying to get her to clap, and she finally mimicked the gesture, like intentionally. She was clapping along to one of Miss Rachel's songs, and so it's been so cute. One thing about babies, if you don't know, is that when they're learning a new skill, or once they've learned it, they obsessively do it nonstop, and so every moment is like a clap party for us. It's really, really cute. But anyways, I'm going to give you an update on the books that I have finished and what I'm reading now and what I think about them. So I'll try to make this quick, but I'm not a very short or brief person, so, you know, bear with me here. But the book that I finally finished is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. Not this edition. I bought that book specifically because I wanted to read it and didn't realize I already had it on my shelf. And that's how you know that I have too many books, and I am working very hard to read through all of the books that I already own, although I will be coming to you soon with a somewhat small book haul, because I was just having a very emotionally intense day, and you know, my emotions got the best of me, and I did a book shopping haul to feel better for a moment, which was effective in the short term, not so much in the long term, because I've been doing really, really good. But then that's also okay, because I've been doing really, really good. I haven't been buying books, so you know what? I'm human. Okay, I'm gonna have slip-ups. I am fallible. But anyways, I'll share that later. My thoughts on Parable of the Sower are essentially, it's not that deep, and that's going to be probably very controversial. I wanted to love it and be profoundly moved by it so badly, but I just did not feel that way. And I think part of it's because, you know, I am kind of taking for granted the knowledge of the present, right? Like her writing that and that content in 1993 was so accurate. You know, it's basically like our world today, just a little tiny bit more extreme, but it's no longer like the distant dystopian I think that it might have once been read as. Now it's like very easy to imagine. And so, you know, that's something, okay? But I will say, and I realized in my last little snippet, I'm gonna still include it, but I was kind of mixing up empathy and compassion. And so her condition, Lauren's condition, where she can feel other people's pain when she looks at it and their pleasure, is hyper empathy, not hyper compassion. So I think that's partly why I was getting kind of like stuck in my little like analysis. You might hear the TV going off. Baby is figuring out how to navigate the buttons on the remote control. But I still have an issue, you know, with it kind of being seen as like this weakness. I think empathy and compassion are actually really helpful modes of survival for humans and human connection. And in fact, I think it's very, very briefly written in by one of the characters, and I think it's a he. He says something about like I wish like everybody had this, and you know, Lauren's like, no, it'd be horrible, and he's like, no, actually, if we all were forced to experience the pain that we bear witness to, we would be more motivated to prevent that. And so, you know, but I thought that as a literary tool, it wasn't that effective, or its effectiveness kind of went past me. Overall, I ended up rating the book 3 stars. I would read it. I would recommend it, you know, for somebody who wants to read the classics, or, you know, who wants to read, you know, a dystopian, but I just didn't think it was as phenomenal. And I think that's the problem that I have, is that people hype up these books and I go in expecting this huge hitting novel or piece of work, and then I'm always disappointed. And so I think I have to also figure out how to try to manage my own expectations. Probably not going to read the follow-up, but who knows, maybe. What I started reading after Parable of the Sower for no other reason than it was on my shelf and it's a short book, and I was like, hey, I can feel extra productive with my reading if I read short books. And so I grabbed Sula off my shelf by Toni Morrison, and whoa, is this a wild ride that I was not expecting it to be. I love Toni Morrison's writing. I haven't read anything else by her. This is my first introduction to her. Hey, baby, can you please put your book in your mouth and not mine? Thank you. Thank you. But this is just bizarre set of occurrences happening in this town of Medallion. And it is a little bit deeper, right? Because there's all these like chaotic things happening. And of course, you know that in the background, not really even the background because she draws it to light in the beginning and throughout in different ways, but you know that it's happening because it's a Black town in a very racist day and age, although really aren't they all racist day and ages? I mean, past, present, probably future, sadly. But anyway, it's just like really bizarre characters, really bizarre situations, and just when you think like you're just getting to like the casual part of the narrative, something else wild and totally unexpected happens. In fact, I've gone back and reread things a couple times like, wait, did I miss the signs? Nope, it's just really that chaotic. And so I'm enjoying this book in that way, very curious to see where this goes. I'm halfway through. I'm on page 94 of like 170, so we'll see how it goes. After that book, I have already picked out to read Celestial Bodies by Joka El-Harthy. I don't really know anything about this, but I know a couple years ago when I first heard about it, it seemed really, really good. And then before I decided that this was going to be my next fiction read, I read a couple pages in the beginning and it sounded interesting. It sounded like something that I would want to read in this moment in time. So I'm looking forward to that. Then really, really quick, I am going to try to finish listening to The 100 Years War on Palestine, A History of Settler Colonial Conquest and Resistance by Rashid Khalidi. I will admit, as I mentioned before, it's been very hard for me to focus on. Number one, I don't have a lot of time to just listen. I try not to overstimulate the baby with background sounds and really try to engage with her verbally when she's awake. When she's sleeping, a lot of the times I either fall asleep too, or I'm just not in the mood to listen to it. And reading it hasn't proved to be effective for me in this moment of time, just because, again, with all like the date event people, it's very dense in that information. And I think I've realized what it is that makes me overwhelmed by it. I don't think it's just the actual information. I think it's like this kind of internal expectation to remember it all. And so that mental load becomes overwhelming. Like I have to remember, which of course I actually don't need to remember all of this, but in my head, I'm like, I have to remember all of it. And then that kind of paralyzes my attention. And then it goes somewhere else as a way to escape that paralysis, if that makes sense. And last but not least, I have started reading The Inner Work of Racial Justice, Healing Ourselves and Transforming Our Communities Through Mindfulness by Rhonda McGee. I picked this up because I thought it would be a book about how to become aware of your internalized white supremacy and racist and other beliefs and assumptions for white people specifically. I bought the book so that way I could bring it to a group of people that I'm involved with, a group of white people, and we regularly do mindfulness practices. And over the course of time, I've kind of noticed some white supremacist notions, and these are good, kind, well-intentioned white people who in many ways are aware, but in many ways aren't. And so I am trying to find ways to very, very gently for the purpose of effectiveness, bring awareness to it in a way that they can receive. As I've been thinking about racial justice and working against white supremacy, it has occurred to me that one of the most effective places I can be is in white spaces, trying to gently make white people more aware. Right? Because in black spaces, they don't need my opinion. They don't need my input that way. And so the work that I can do, I think most effectively, hopefully, I'm trying, is to, bring it up consistently in white spaces. And it's been interesting because it's led me to have to do even more inner work
because I've had to learn how to be less judgmental of others, how to work against that inner need to feel like I'm the special white person. Like, let's just be real, right? Like, I'm one of the good ones, one of the good white people, right? Like, I'm an ally. But in that, sometimes we can be very kind of self-focused, right? Like, if we're not really doing the work to be effective, we're doing it to feel superior. That's still white superiority and supremacy. So it's been an interesting journey. Maybe I'll talk more about it, maybe not. Let me know if you're interested. But I'm going to wrap this vlog up here. I really have enjoyed kind of sharing with you. I'm really looking forward to seeing your interactions and engagement in the comments. I would love to hear from you, not just for engagement and numbers. On my channel, I don't particularly care about that. I'm not getting monetized from this. I just want to hear from you all. So share books you're reading in August, share your life experiences, how you're doing, share anything you want about kind of what I've talked about here, whatever. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. There's a lot going on in this world. Be gentle with your mindfulness, and we will talk soon.